Morning, it's Stephen here back with another video, and as you probably already noticed, the game tonight against Arsenal has been postponed, and it's because of coronavirus. Now, Arsenal on Arsenal.com put out this statement this morning, and it should be on screen right about now. It says, our Premier League match with Manchester City on Wednesday night has been postponed. Following yesterday's news that Olympiacos owner Evangelos Marinakis has recently contracted COVID-19, we've been taking medical advice and tracing any individuals who had what the guidelines defined as close contact with him at the game 13 days ago. As a result of this exercise, we identified that a number of players met the Olympiacos owner immediately following the game. The medical advice we received puts the risk of them developing COVID-19 extremely low. However, we are strictly following the government's guidelines, which recommend that anyone coming into close contact with someone with the virus should self-isolate at home for 14 days from the last time they had contact. As a result, the players are unavailable for tonight's match against Manchester City, and the Premier League has decided the game should be postponed. Players will remain at their homes until the 14-day period expires. 4 Arsenal staff who were sitting close to Mr. Marinakis during the game will also remain at home until the 14 days are complete. We fully understand how disappointing this is for our supporters, particularly those who are travelling to Manchester for tonight's match. Tickets will be available for the match when it's rearranged. And basically, he goes on to say that they wish everyone at the club and also Mr. Marinakis a swift recovery. I think this is coronavirus starting to affect football over here now. I think a lot of us probably knew this was going to happen, really. Now, obviously, it's only really the Bundesliga and the Premier League that aren't really playing games behind closed doors out of the major leagues at the moment. It's happening in Serie A, La Liga, Liga. And it looks likely that we're probably seeing the tip of the iceberg here. Now, obviously, the health of everyone always matters first and foremost. It'd be a shame. It'd be disappointing and worrying if anyone was exposed to it unwillingly. So this is obviously the right thing to do. I know it doesn't really help the fans involved, but first and foremost, you want everyone to be safe and sound. And if the Arsenal players have been exposed to it, then you can't blame them for wanting to essentially go home, relax, and not worry about spreading it to anyone else. Now, naturally, the chances of them catching it are low according to medical advice, and they are in the age bracket in terms of the demographics of people who probably would recover well if they did. But having said that, they still could pass it on to people around them who are probably more at risk from serious complications. So you have to understand that it's probably the best thing to do, really, because this virus is serious. And we have to essentially self-isolate if we come into contact with anyone who's had the virus. Now, if you don't know who Mr. Marinakis is, he's the owner of Olympiacos and also the chairman of Nottingham Forest. He's tested positive for it. I think he's recovering okay at the moment, as far as I know. But of course, you have to take these precautions. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what about the West Ham players? Arsenal only played West Ham a few days ago. Arsenal currently, that was 13 days ago that they played Olympiacos. So by the weekend, it'll be 14 days, which means they should be okay for their game, but we don't really know yet if any of the players have it because they haven't been tested yet. So if they are, then they'll also have to test West Ham players as well. Then it could absolutely snowball from there. And obviously the concern is that because it's such a new virus, we don't really know fully how contagious it is in terms of how when people are spreading the symptoms, because a lot of people can be asymptomatic, which means you don't have any symptoms and you can still spread the virus, which is obviously the risk when you've got footballers and a lot of them in a team and a coach and all that kind of stuff and all the operations and the technical staff and all the fans and everyone else you'd meet. You could have footballers who maybe wouldn't show the symptoms, but they could spread it to so many people. So this is the problem we've got at the moment, is that we don't really know how far it's going to spread. So obviously the self-isolation thing is the exact kind of advice that the government has given the Arsenal players, and they've gone for it. Now the biggest concerns are, is this putting the season at risk? As it stands at the moment, I think the season's okay, but you can only really look at the precedents set elsewhere. And if coronavirus does start to spread more and more in the Premier League and into England in general, then yeah, the season will be at risk. Look at over in Italy at the Serie A, that's been suspended now. The football's been suspended until further notice. I think it's until the start of April, actually, because of the spread. Now, obviously, it's been a lot worse hit in North Italy than we have in the UK so far, and touch wood, everyone is going to be okay in the UK. We just don't know yet. But it's been really bad over in Italy, and if it reaches those levels in terms of numbers, then you can only presume the Italian government and Italian Football League of there have set a precedent that we would simply have to follow, because for one, I guess, politically, they'll want to save face, they'll have to do this, otherwise they'll look careless. And What that means for the league, we don't really know yet fully. Now, Gabriele Marcotti, obviously a really hugely respected journalist, said that the Italian FA are mulling over 3 options based on when stroke if the situation allows Serie A to start again. Now, what they'll do, and I've got the tweet on screen now, if it gets to that stage, he says, 1, they'll declare the title vacant and assign Euro spots based on current standings with no relegation. 2, the season will be over and title relegation could be based on the table. 3, the playoffs would be for title. There'll be playoffs for title relegation. Now, I know we all joke about, football, Liverpool not getting the league and all that kind of stuff in the bants. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with kind of gallows humour, I guess. It'd be kind of funny in a way. But at the same time, I don't think, I just don't want that to happen because I don't want football to be cancelled and I don't want more people to get ill, because if football's cancelled, it means more people are getting ill. And why would anyone actually want that to happen? You'd have to be very selfish to actually want that. I know you can jokingly want it, but to actually want it, I don't know. Personally, I can't get behind that because we've all got relatives, We've all got elderly relatives who are more at risk than young, healthier people like maybe me and you watching this video. And I don't want that to happen. So I don't want it to get to the point where it's going to happen. If it did, though, 1, declare the title vacant, assign Euro spots based on current standings, no relegation. That's an option, definitely. 2, the season over, title relegation based on the table. I can't see that happening. I think people could turn around and say Liverpool, look, they're going to win the league, but they haven't won the league yet. And if they concede that Liverpool have won the league, then they're conceding that the people at the bottom are going to get relegated. And can you imagine those clubs at the bottom accepting that? They would be suing the Premier League for a long, long, long time if that happened, because the money they'll lose from that. Also, they could turn around and go, look, we haven't played everyone yet. Why is this fair? We haven't played some of the big teams yet, and they have, or vice versa, or whatever. I don't see that as a fair resolution at all, in my humble opinion, because you're accepting that the table is final. It's not a fair or level playing field, because they could say, well, we rested people this week because of next week, and now it's not happening. And there's too many complications there, which I simply can't see clubs accepting. Number 3, if you got to this, obviously, if you got to it in Italy as well, playoffs for title relegation. Marcotti's tweet said he's rooting for that himself, and that's probably where I would go. That'd be the fairest result. But we are starting to look at a situation where football, if it's suspended for any period of time, how are you going to cope with this with the Euros? I don't know what I'm going to talk about on this channel. That's a concern personally, but I'll get over it. I guess I have to. Good time to quit my job, eh? But if it's suspended football, then surely it's going to affect the Euros. How do we resolve this season? There's so many questions that we don't know yet. And obviously, it's very much, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, because it's unprecedented territory and we don't really know. But the result is that Arsenal and Manchester City, the game is suspended. When it'll be rearranged, we don't know. But we are obviously rearranged FC. Constantly happens to Manchester City. So I'm sure we'll make it work. For now, though, obviously, if you're not feeling well, just stay at home, relax. And try not to spread anything that you feel you may have, because it's serious, this. So fingers crossed everyone recovers and gets okay, and we can move forward and we can minimise the impact. And I think this is ultimately, as frustrating it may be for some people, probably the right thing to do, because even though the healthy young footballers, even though they may not be at risk in terms of the severe symptoms, there are people around them that will be. So I totally understand that. And I totally understand the idea that some players will be like, I also don't get the idea that, they can just play behind closed doors. Why would they be happy with that? Like, they're still at risk as well of contracting it. And all the operations teams that'll be there on the day behind closed doors. You still need people at a ground when you're playing it behind closed doors to oversee. You still need referees. You still need all the technical stuff. I don't think the players would be happy with it, and rightfully so. So why should they have to put themselves at risk? So I think we'll see a lot of that. And apparently the players' union in the league at the moment as well are starting to press that case. So things are going to change big time. Where we go from here, I guess there'll be constant updates throughout the day. For now, though, the game is suspended. I suggest you go and read up on it for more clued up people than myself. Of course, I'm just a fan. I've read up a little bit about it, but don't trust me for COVID-19 updates. Go and read scientists. Go and read articles on the BBC and all that kind of stuff. People are actually more informed than I am for now. Guys, I'd say like, comment, subscribe, but that's a little bit crass. I said it anyway. If you want to, go for it. It's cancelled. Fingers crossed football isn't cancelled. Fingers crossed everyone's okay in a bit.